Wait. Hello. Hello. Woo! Hello. Is it working now? We wonder. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, we had a horrible disaster. We've had to restart the show. This is number 74 and a half. I will sing a song for everyone, and hopefully, disasters, one disaster after another, and this is how you just roll through. Yeah, something's gonna happen and it could be good. Something's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen. It could be good. Something's gonna happen and it could be good. Something's gonna happen like we knew it would. Oh, you never know just how the show is gonna go. So you jump in the bath and freeze your toes. Just jump in the bath and freeze your toes. Can you hear us now, folks? Yes. All right, don't worry. Okay, good. Now we're going to go again, and we're going to talk about things so that you can hear it. Just so you know, I had a lovely guest bring me some basil. Something is going to happen, and it could be good. All right, come on back up here, you two. We're not going to sing the whole song. We've got to just jump right into a new, and that first disaster of a take will, there you go, will be discarded. All right.
Round two.
Hi, everyone.
All right, and you're Gideon.
Yes.
And you're
Natty.
Mm-hmm. You're Natty. And you're here to talk about Wim Hof Method?
Method.
It's
Yes.
a whole method. Mm-hmm. Which involves breathing and ice bathing.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you again, how did you get involved with it in the first place?
About two and a half years ago, growing up surfing in Florida, we had a winter that was very, very cold, and I decided that I had had enough of the torture, and that this Vice documentary I watched about Wim Hof and being able to do this breath work and get in cold water and be not phased, I thought, how badass would that be to just pull up in the lineup and surf without a wetsuit? Because I just absolutely hated the cold. I hated everything about it. So I decided to go to Poland and train with Wim Hof and some of his instructors, Brad Carson.
Gideon's out of the picture.
Oh, come on in.
All right, let's fix
Yeah,
it.
we finally have somebody in charge back here telling us what to do, and we've got this worked out a little better.
Okay.
And now maybe you can hear us and see us.
Testing.
Testing. This is a homegrown show. Homegrown. Okay, so you're a surfer and you didn't want to be cold, and
So I went to
and you
Poland.
saw something on TV,
Yeah.
and so you looked into it and signed up for a workshop
Called the Wim Hof Method.
in Poland.
Yes.
Got on an airplane just for that.
Just for that.
There wasn't any place closer?
I think it was Spain was the other place, but Poland. And the way that they advertised it was, come get in, breathe, learn how to do this breath work, immerse yourself in freezing cold temperatures, and at the very end, do this 4-hour hike up the mountain in just your shorts and your boots with the snow falling on you. So I thought, if there's any way that I'm going to get to a point where I can not wear a wetsuit, then that would be the way.
And so, can you not wear a wetsuit now?
No, I still need a wetsuit.
Oh, okay. Did you manage?
Still in training.
Did you manage to walk to the top of the mountain?
I did.
And you weren't cold, or?
Yes. With that being said, I do ferry the cold weather a lot easier, a lot better than I did before. I don't absolutely hate it like I did before, but I don't mind putting on a wetsuit and being comfortable and not having to focus like that. What was your question?
Oh, well, my question is why? No, I know why, because it's supposed to be really good. Now, Natty, talk to me a little bit about the different there's all sorts of breathing techniques. Like I said, there's the one where you block a nostril, and there's all kinds.
Right. So the Wim Hof Method focuses on a series of 30 breaths where you fully inhale, filling the belly, filling the chest, and exhaling through the mouth. And he says, like a wave. make it circular. So you make it seem like it's just continuous. It's just this flow of energy that's coming in and coming out and coming in and coming out. So you do that for 3 rounds. In between, you hold for 15 seconds. I'm sorry, you hold for as long as possible. So sometimes it could be a minute, sometimes it could be a minute and a half, sometimes it's 2-3 minutes. And then you exhale, breathe, and hold 15 seconds. And then you go right back into the flow of the 30 breaths. And so you're retaining and releasing oxygen and CO2 and all kinds of stuff that's changing within the body. But this is a form that he expresses is activating the limbic system, right? So this is an alkalizing technique.
Alkalizing, that's interesting because we talk about drinking alkaline water.
Correct.
And so you can alkalize your own body just by breathing.
Correct, absolutely. So I don't know about you.
I don't know why I'm paying so much for that water.
Right. I don't know about you, but we weren't necessarily taught how to properly breathe. No one's really made it a point to say, hey, this is how you should breathe in school. And this is kind of a fun practice where we're actually putting a lot of intention behind the breath. It's more conscious, it's more be here now, and taking in and understanding how to properly breathe. We've never been shown that.
Right. And I guess if you're, counting breaths is a form of meditation.
Correct.
So I guess that's pretty.
I'm a very hyperactive mind. So for me, breath incorporated into my meditation practice has actually helped me find balance, find wholeness within and stillness within. For me, it's actually pretty difficult to just sit and just be. The breath has a way of bringing me into the present moment. And that's what's helped me the most and why I'm such a huge Wim Hof advocate. I promote it, I live it, I breathe it all the time is because for me it allows me to be more present.
Okay, and so what drew you to it? You got drawn there because you wanted to jump in cold water and feel more comfortable. What drew you to it? How did you even hear about it?
Interestingly enough, pain was actually what drew me to the cold. Yeah, pain.
What does that mean?
So physical pain. I had a pretty severe car accident back in 2016, which was very debilitating. And it really brought me to a very humbled state because up until that point, I was 24 years old or so. I didn't quite know what that meant, pain. When we think of pain, every single person has a different interpretation of pain. Even doctors don't quite know how to assess pain. We don't really know where it comes from or how it works within the body. We're still relatively new when it comes to medical information in regard to pain. But for me, it was very much I was seeking the cold because I needed to eliminate and eradicate inflammation in my body. So I was experiencing lots and lots of pain. And so the ice bathing was a way to help stop the pain from being as intense as it was, but also being able to control the level of inflammation in my body.
But
that's really why I do it.
That? How did you find out?
Well, if you think about it, when you hurt yourself, what's one of the first things you do if it's not an open wound, if it's a bash? You put cold on it, right? Yeah, at least for 15 seconds. This is common knowledge where we know that the cold will help any swelling, any of that from coming on. And that's a really good thing. So when it comes to thinking about your entire body being a source of pain, what better way to just dip you right into the ice bath?
And did you know about Wim Hof, or you just on your own decided you wanted to jump
Where
in
did
an
it
ice bath?
begin? I mean, for me, I think that I was always very drawn to, cold. I haven't been, I'm actually not super excited about heat. My comfort zone is the cold for some weird reason. The heat actually creates irritability in my body. I don't really like being in very warm temperatures for a long sustained period of time. So for me, I think bathhouses, knowing about it through just school and athleticism and knowing that the ice was a great way to alleviate inflammation. And so that's how a lot of people actually know it, is through their experience being an athlete, being someone who's exposing their body to a lot of exertion, putting them in the ice is like an automatic reset to the body as well. So I think it was just common knowledge, but not till I experienced some breath work with a couple friends in the St. Pete area did I really tune into, oh wow, we have the capacity to monitor our body's anatomical system, physiology through breath, through ice. If that answered your question.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. And then you stumbled upon the Wim Hof himself, or the method, or
oh yeah, so
stumbled on Gideon. I mean, how the heck did you get involved?
Honestly, the Wim Hof Method came through, I'm sure, through Vice, through some form of online platform that spoke on this incredible person with so much. Oh God, he's so animated. He's just very out there, and he's not what you
bottle
would.
rocket without a stick.
A bottle rocket without a stick.
Yeah, he's definitely a really playful soul, and I just loved his energy, and I just loved his, like, oh, it doesn't matter, just do it, just go with it, just go with it. I love that attitude. So yeah, I think it was more so through just like the web of healing, you know, releasing all that good stuff.
And we said that Wim Hof was or is or was a professional athlete.
Dutch athlete. Well, he's been an athlete his entire life. From the moment he was like a kid, he's been cycling. He's done all kinds of tours.
Yeah, an athlete of like curiosity, someone who just likes to push his body. If you look him up, you'll see he set all these world records with swimming under ice caps and holding his breath and being submerged. Doing marathons in the Arctic cap, with no water type stuff. But having got a chance to actually meet him, he's an incredibly in tune spiritual man with like many, many layers of, like we discussed earlier, which is okay, on how to tap back into the biology of the body through the breath, through the ice bath, and in doing so, drawing yourself closer to nature. Understanding more about yourself through the elements of nature, being that we are nature. And
being able to overcome discomfort. I think that in our present day reality, we're very much attached to comfort, and that actually makes us weak. Proven fact. So that being said, we could have these moments of pure bliss and comfort, but at the same time, it's important for our evolution as well as humans to be exposed to things that are not super comfortable all the time.
Okay, and so you all are hosting a Wim Hof event.
So we're promoting.
You're promoting?
Correct. WIFA's promoting an event with 2 Wim Hof instructors, Brad Carson and Michael Cristoforo. We're very excited to have them at Boyd Hill Nature Preserve, August 14th and 15th. So check out for that. We're going to have the Eventbrite link attached to this video. But looking forward to having y'all there because we're bringing instructors that are going to be teaching us Wim Hof's method. So there's many different types and breath techniques and different styles, but they're going to be there facilitating, holding space, and making sure we're safe throughout the process.
Right, because, I suppose if you dunked yourself in an ice bath, could that be very dangerous?
It's always best, of course, to follow the protocols with checking with doctors, feeling into yourself, is this event for you? And then, of course, checking out Wim Hof Method, his site, to see, how they recommend as well stepping into these events. Curiosity for sure. Start, look into his app. He's got a ton of free stuff. Start doing a little breath work. Start experimenting
cold showers.
with the cold showers.
You can start there.
Yep. And
can we get a cold shower in Florida?
Yeah, right.
Good luck with that. So, that's my recommendation as far as just being smart about these things as we go to press our body. And at the same time, have that curiosity and that confidence and just that inner knowing, even if you don't know, that you can do these things.
Right.
And so how does how does one of these workshops work? How does it progress?
I think Gideon would be a good, because you've actually experienced a live workshop with instructors and Wim himself. So
yeah, so you flew to Poland.
I guess what I'm kind of predicting will happen is the fundamentals will be more of a one-on-one instructor with you, solo person in the tank. going through the basic breath work. It's going to be a lot more one-on-one in the fundamentals. And the advanced, from what Brad told me, there's going to be a couple other techniques that are going to be thrown in there as far as breath work.
And so the workshop is a 2-day workshop, or
Two-day.
these are 2 different workshops?
2 different workshops.
Okay, so you got their beginning workshop and your more advanced workshop.
Correct.
And so
And you can attend both.
And you can attend both.
Yes.
But I can't just go to the advanced unless I've taken the beginning. Or can I just, I'm advanced, I'm going to sign up for the advanced?
Oh, no. A lot of people in our community here would be considered advanced because they've been practicing breath work for at least a year to 2 years. If you haven't practiced breath work for at least a year, I would not consider you eligible for advanced.
Okay.
That's just my personal
But
opinion.
if I went through the first day training, then I would be
Set up.
Set
You'd be
up, go
ready.
to the-
Yeah, you would have received the base coat, and now we're going to layer it up.
okay. And this workshop lasts how long? The first one, say.
The
On
first
Sat-
day is
sorry, go ahead.
4 hours, right? The first day is 4 hours, 12 to 4, and then or 11 to 4, and then the second day is 12
To 5.
to 5. Correct.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Lunch is included on the second day.
lunch is included on the second day.
Yes, we actually have Lopez from Twisted Indian offering us delicious plant-based and meat-friendly dishes for whoever's interested.
Okay, and how many spaces are available in this workshop?
So each day we can accommodate 30 guests each day.
Okay. And what do you see yourself doing with this in the future? Do you see, I mean, okay, how often do you jump into, just so people know, my neighbor is being very industrious today, and God love him, and that's what we're hearing. And we, everybody does what they do on Sunday, and my neighbor is running what is that, a tile saw, you reckon, Tim?
It's a grinder.
A grinder?
Yeah.
He's over there grinding something. Good on him. This is a sound day. We've got sound and no sound.
Audio, no audio. That's
Audio,
fine.
no audio.
We'll work with what we got.
Yeah. So how often do you get into an ice bath?
So lately, and this is fun. I have a deep freezer at my house right now, and so I keep it cold at about 47 degrees Fahrenheit, and I dip in there every day.
So you have a deep freeze filled with water.
That stays at a consistent temperature, and I do the breath work. I do 3 rounds of breath, and then I jump right in. Sometimes I can be in there for a while, a couple minutes, but sometimes it depends on the day. I can only be in there for seconds. But what's really interesting is less of a shock every time. The first initial time I jumped into an ice bath, I think, was the most intense. Because I hadn't come in contact with cold like that. But then afterwards, with the continuum of continuously doing it, it doesn't feel as intense or as shocking as potentially it might for people that experience it maybe every once in a while.
Now, is there an amount of time that is recommended? Because there's some physiological changes that are happening in your body.
Correct.
So is there 30 seconds won't do it, but 3 minutes will, or can you stay in there too long? I mean, is there a?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a really good question.
Don't want to
actually.
get too much into like the instructor stuff.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
But what I do remember to get even to start brown activation fat was like 72 degrees for 3 to 5 minutes ambient temperature. So it wasn't that you had to get extreme temperatures. So again,
So it could be a couple seconds.
Yeah.
Or a couple minutes. Each have plenty of benefits regardless. So there's no pressure to say, hey, you need to be in there for 5 minutes. No, it's up to you. It's what feels most comfortable to you and is tailored around what your needs are. But what he's talking about is definitely like an exchange of energy that's taking place within your body physiologically.
At that point.
And your vascular system is being exerted, right? So 5 minutes is golden. I've been in there for much longer. I've been in there for much less. So it just depends.
That's usually my sweet spot. It's about 5 minutes.
And how often do you get into an ice bath?
It's maybe 4 or 5 times a week.
4 or 5 times
Yeah,
a week.
I have to
And-
change my tank and stuff like that, so I miss a couple days with changing water.
Yeah, so you have your own tank at your house or a deep
A deep freezer, yeah, and this one's a small one. She's not super big.
Natty size.
It's natty sized for sure. It's just great to have that because you know that it's staying at a consistent temperature. I also have one of those troughs that I bought at one of the hardware stores that you feed cows. So we fill that with several pounds of ice, maybe 30 pounds of ice, and then we fill it with water and do that. Each feel distinctly different, but both have an insane amount of benefits that I've experienced from both.
And so you were saying you had been in a car accident.
Correct.
And so do you feel like this is have you been healed?
Well, I mean, from personal experience, just being diagnosed by doctors that essentially told me I needed to get surgeries and take muscle relaxers and take a bunch of stuff, I opted out and decided to seek an alternative route to my healing, a more holistic, preventative way of going about my healing. I'm actually 100% grateful that we have the Western medical system. I'm super grateful to it because it's essential in a lot of ways. But at the same time, I think that we should take more responsibility for our health. And for me, that means alkalizing my body, being brought to the present moment through breath, doing cold showers, doing ice baths, movement. These are all things that our bodies are equipped to do. And if we don't move our body, if we don't exert our bodies, we lose it. We just do. It's like a muscle. If you're not going to use it, you're going to lose it. It's the same thing with our body.
I wonder if there's heat bath people.
Oh, sauna.
Oh, yeah, saunas.
There you go.
Sauna.
There's a
Sauna.
heat bath.
Saunas, yeah. I'm a huge fan of saunas.
I remember being in Switzerland at a ski resort when my parents used to take me to those sorts of places, and they had a hot pool and then snow around, and you were supposed to sit in the hot pool and then roll around in the snow, and that was actually
Huge
kind
fan.
of painful.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a lot, and that can actually be a little bit
Contrast.
damaging too, because you have to be very cautious how long you stay in the hot. When do you transfer? When do you don't? Because our bodies work differently, you know. So with cold submersion or cold exposure, it's one of those things where it's like you got to listen to your body. It's not a matter of this is the standard and this is the way it's done. It's more check in with yourself. Are you capable? Yes, you are. Okay, good. Keep going.
Now, is this sustainable? I mean, do you see yourself jumping in an ice bath every couple of days for the rest of your life?
Good question, because all I can think about is how I do cartwheels once I get out of the ice bath, because it's incredibly energizing, you know, and just the feeling that I get in my body through my skin, it just ripples throughout the day. So sometimes for me, the hardest thing that I'm doing the entire day is getting in that ice bath for 3 to 5 minutes. That's it.
Only 3 minutes, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing I'm going to do all day.
And it's just so refreshing. It's like a wake up, kind of like a shot of espresso, except this is you experiencing it firsthand. You know, you don't have to go to something to experience it.
It's like one of those things where you're trying to really explain an emotion to somebody. You're trying to explain the color orange to a blind person, so to speak. It's like it's best experienced, you know, yourself. And when you do get in the ice bath and you get out and you feel the energy or you feel something shift inside and you start making it consistent to where it's not good or bad, it's not hot or cold anymore. It's just a place for which you go and you just focus. And you focus and you get out and you just experience, whether you can put a name on it or you're, you know, real techie about what to call it, you still experience it. You know, still experience the
Yeah, I would say
benefits.
for someone who's never tried ice bathing, I think our workshop is going to be a great way to kind of warm you up to ice bathing and give you kind of the ground rules of what to expect and what not to expect.
Yeah.
For me, it's my initial workshops that I've taken, I think the hardest part was just saying yes to it, really. And then when I did it, I was like, oh, wow, that wasn't that tough at all. It really wasn't a big deal. It was all up in here.
Yeah, well, I mean, part of me feels like, oh, so what? Sit in an
Right.
ice bath for
Right.
3 minutes, like
Right.
whatever. But I've never tried it.
Yes.
So
I always get the butterflies. I think even as someone who does it pretty regularly and I enjoy doing it and I definitely see myself doing it as long as the Lord will have me on this planet, I'm just super grateful to the whole experience, and I've seen such a change in movement, mobility, strength, pain. I was diagnosed with carpal tunnel. I don't have carpal tunnel. yeah, it's pretty incredible stuff.
So we can keep smoking and drinking as long as we get in the
As long as you get in the
Balance the
ice bath,
scales,
baby.
baby.
Yeah, pick your vices. Choose your thing. I won't say yes or no, but yeah.
Yeah. So it was so good for you that now you're inspired to bring in some teachers.
Yes. And very inspired by Wim Hof himself.
Yeah.
Like anyone who looks into Wim Hof and sees the huge heart on this man,
Passion.
the passion, and see how far he's actually went with science to prove these things statistically. He's been doing
He's
this
done
for a
some pretty
long
incredible
time.
stuff with within the medical community in Europe to produce some incredible knowledge.
Yes.
And his story is a powerful one. If you're ever interested in learning more about William himself, his wife committed suicide due to mental illness, and William was basically forced to be full-time dad. And so there was like no mourning time. There was just, now you're full-time dad. Now you must produce. And so for him, he sought out the cold and he sought out breath as a way of combating depression, combating anxiety, combating stress. That's really what called him to the breath. So his own personal experience with pain and suffering drew him to develop this very unique and powerful method that now instructors are being trained to share all over the world and share it with people that can't and need to combat it. Their mental illness or their lack of balance or
And when you've either of you, have you ever been at a workshop where somebody failed? Can you fail at these workshops?
Being in Poland, yes, certain people definitely took a minute for themselves, you know what I mean? In the sense of maybe didn't participate in something. But that was in Poland, and that's not Florida. That's not what this workshop's going to be about. We're going to be in 90-degree weather with ice baths and two beautiful
Poland's
instructors.
a different situation, I'm sure.
So, I think it'll be a beautiful experience, but definitely not nearly the same as going to Poland where it's cold outside like that.
I don't think there is fail. I think there's just do. And are you willing to step into discomfort and learn about yourself through the discomfort? But if you step into the water and that's it, that's all you got, and that's okay. There's no pressure whatsoever.
Yeah.
But you'll surprise yourself. That's often been the case. Is we hype ourselves up mentally, and then when we're in it, we're like, oh, this ain't nothing but a thing.
Not that
Good
cold.
point.
So I think that's the initial factor that most people might be. That might be their deterrent, honestly. It's their mental idea of like, what's this supposed to feel like? This is going to be excruciating. We're saying all these different things to ourselves, but really when we're in the moment, when we are present with the breath in the ice, it's a piece of cake. It really isn't a big deal.
And you said that there was an emotional component that came up. Okay, so you
Sure.
went in there because you were pain. And
I
you
was
were
in a
trying to
lot
get
of
rid
pain, physical pain. Mhm.
You went in there because you wanted to be able to surf without being cold, but you said that once you got in this water bath, you had some sort of an emotional reaction. What does that mean?
Yeah, and because when we talked earlier, it was like a very woo-y type explanation. So I got a chance to do a retake here. There's a scientist who has passed away named Dr. Yamoto, and Dr. Yamoto did testing on water.
Water, yes, I know
by
this.
writing. So
Yes.
so writing a word on a jar, and then freezing the jar and seeing what happens.
Yeah.
So let's just get to the science. This verbiage here. Science has proven that when you take a word and put it on a jar, it creates
A word like love or hate.
Correct.
They would put that on
Thank
An
you, guys.
emotion,
a
right.
glass, different waters.
Mm-hmm.
The same water. One they would put the word, just write the word love on a
Yes.
jar. This one they'd write the word hate,
Mm-hmm.
and then they would flash freeze these waters and look at the crystals that were formed.
Yes.
Oh,
And
cool.
the way I remember it is that the love ones, the crystals were beautifully formed and symmetrical, and ones
The
where you
hate
said
were
hate
like
was an unbeautiful crystal. Now that just seems about as crazy.
Yeah.
as you could come. But I've seen the pictures online. Now they could have been faked, I suppose. But anyways, okay. So yeah.
So with that in mind,
yes.
It created this question inside of myself of like, I'm water, so what does my fractalized pattern look like? What does my inner voice say?
Oh.
And what it was saying is, I hate the cold. So there's the word on me, so that there's something inside of my body. So I started to probe deeper and saying, but wait, I am made out of water. I am made out of these elements. And
Yeah, but you're not made out of cold water, brother. You're made out
but
of...
I'm made out of fire.
Yeah.
I'm made out of heat. So based on what Wim was saying, I should be able to breathe, control my autonomic nervous system to produce heat. So, with that in mind, I wanted to test this. And getting in the cold water with this concept in mind that I'm going to produce this heat, I didn't realize that those words are attached to something in my life. The reason why I hate the water, the reason why something's happened in my life is attached to an experience, which is now stored in the water of my body. So the cold water allowed me to be shaken like a snow globe. And since I really like meditation, I like to get into 30-minute meditations or an hour, whatever, I found that the cold water created a hyper focus in which I could focus on these things in 3 to 5 minutes now.
These things like feelings that came up, or
Feelings
old
that come up.
or
Memories.
So
Yes,
these are
stored memories.
that just you didn't consciously have. They,
No, didn't know what they were, because it's like shaking a snow globe. It's like, there it is. Oh, okay, I see. Like, wow, what is that? Don't need to label it. I just experienced it. It's fine. And what I noticed is as they were processed, and again, we don't have to label it like, oh, my mom didn't give me that lollipop at 5 years old at Disney World.
I hate that.
So devastating.
mad.
Trauma in the body.
Yeah.
Maybe that was it. But what I realized is, bottom line is, it created additional space inside of me. And what I did is just in love and gratitude, filled it with love and gratitude. So I removed the trauma and I put a new emotion in place.
And
called love
released
gratitude.
resistance too, because when you're resistant, that adds stress. When you allow it and you just let go and
Let
you
it
just
go.
move with it, it's a different experience altogether from can't push a car sideways. You got to just go with it.
Yeah. So that's just the emotional component, and you get into science, there's so many directions you can go with this. But I was fascinated through Dr. Yamamoto and seeing that I'm actually changing my inner voice. I'm setting a new edge in life, to which the hardest thing I'm doing is in the morning for 3 to 5 minutes, and all of the other drivers and all the other craziness are just sub to this one targeted discomfort, and then the energy that was produced from it.
And so you've been doing this for a couple years now?
About 2 years.
About 2 years? Are you a different person? Are you a...
Yeah.
Yeah. From a very short, you could do it once and you're kind of a different person. I think so.
Poland
Yeah.
was and I've done some really interesting, far out, paranormal type interaction with things through meditation. But Poland and getting in that water was one of the most transformative things I've ever done in my life. It showed me what I was capable of doing. And
You probably didn't know.
But I didn't know.
You probably didn't know that.
And then
You're like, wow.
inspired by Wim to come back and to continue doing it, to be
That's so
honest.
awesome.
And just inspired by him as well.
Yeah, and we can all do this. This is easy to do. This is something that, if you've never breathed this way, that's okay. You'll start to experience the benefits very quickly, just from the first session, 2 sessions, 3 sessions of breath work that you do.
And then is there a Wim Hof community around here, or not necessarily?
There's a huge community all over the world.
Yeah. Do you guys get together with other people and jump in this cold bath?
Natty's good about that.
You know what? It's interesting. We've created our own communities here in St. Pete. Gideon had been hosting as well, and that's actually how we came together. We both were hosting ice bath meetups in St. Pete and neighboring towns, and So no, I would say the Wim Hof community, there's a big one in Miami, but I personally don't have any contact to it. I just know of it. And then I do know of some Wim Hof certified people that do own businesses here in St. Pete as well that have hosted workshops that I've attended. But as far as like a Wim Hof community, not necessarily, more of a breather community. Danny May is also a very talented yogi and breathwork specialist who's been teaching free diving, who's been teaching breathwork, who's been teaching yoga with breathwork here in the community. So yeah, it's steadily becoming something that's popular right now in our community.
And do you run across people who are like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that, it's bad for you?
No.
No, nobody's trying to convince you not to do that.
Just
No.
our parents, that's about it.
Well,
Just parents.
good parents in there. Yeah, because we might all. Oh, well, there we go. I want to thank you all for this conversation and for having it twice for us.
Yeah.
Yes.
This show has been a little bit interesting.
Maybe the first guest and the second guest.
You were
Yes.
the first guest and the second guest, and I think you are going to be the last guest. And I think that we're going to call this show right here, right now.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Laura.
I really
Really appreciate
appreciate
it.
your sharing it, and we'll have to find out what happens, you know. See
Right,
how much
follow up
people-
from the workshop.
follow
Yes.
up from the workshop. We'll get some information typed in. For those of you that don't know, we had a little disaster earlier, and so I was shaken. I was shaken by the disaster. The worst part of my day has happened when the sound didn't go on.
Get this woman an ice bath.
Yeah,
Get this woman an ice
I
bath.
need an ice bath.
That
or
actually sounds
something.
very refreshing.
I
Oh my
know,
God,
you
right
need
now?
an
Yeah.
ice bath. And so I'm going to let you hit the finish button on that, and we'll see you all in 2 weeks.